how to actually give a man space without feeling anxious or obsessing about him, how long to give him space for. Is it actually appropriate? Is it going to help your relationship? The 5 mistakes you must never make, and the 5 steps to not just have him come back, but to reignite his passion and desire for you. The typical solution out there is you just need to stop overthinking things, stop obsessing about him, stop catastrophizing the situation, and just focus on yourself. And if he cares about you, he will come back. Or if he doesn't come back, clearly he doesn't care about you, and therefore you should then move on with your life. Problem with this is, what if your situation does not fit neatly into one of those 2 scenarios? What if you giving a man space doesn't actually solve the problem he wanted space for? What if you just want to know what is going on? Is he into you? Is he losing interest? Is he dating someone else? You just want to know so you can just move on with your life. A lot of people say, well, just stop thinking about him. Stop overthinking it. Do something else. What if you're struggling to control your mind, control your fears, control your anxiety? And there's other things to consider. Now, sometimes for sure, you do want to give a man space, especially if you're bombarding him with texts and phone calls and he's getting annoyed. Yes, you should be giving him space. However, most of the time, if a man is pulling away and is asking for space, if you just kind of like give that to him without questioning that, you're actually perpetuating this idea that you are independent of each other. So I will take care of my own needs and you will take care of your own needs, or you're now codependent. I want you to take care of my needs. If it's either one or the other, there's not a lot of consideration for what's another option. And if your relationship is new, then you may genuinely want to know if he truly is losing interest, and you don't want to waste your time if that is the case, or this is just temporary. So here is what doesn't work. Asking him for reassurance. Is there someone else? Are you losing interest? Getting him to confirm or disprove your fears. Trying to redeem yourself. Trying to fix a mistake that you think you have made. Coming up with a plan of how you're going to change yourself and change your actions and show him you've changed. Telling him he is wrong and why he is wrong. Trying to do all of the above whilst being nice and soft and loving and feminine. This is being manipulative. Doing nothing and instead just spinning in your own thoughts, with your own thinking and feeling anxious and worried and just staying there. Right, so here's what you want to do instead. Look at all the facts. What is the context in which he is pulling away? Does it make sense that he is now pulling away? If you had an argument, then it makes sense why he would be pulling away and is distant, because he's just upset, he's stewing. If everything was going well, he was interested in you, he was dating you and courting you, and then all of a sudden he's pulled away and he's maybe told you it's because of work or this and that, but it doesn't completely make a lot of sense, because chances are those scenarios, work, divorce, death, or whatever, probably were present in the beginning of your dating relationship as well. Then it doesn't really make sense why all of a sudden now it's become an issue. It's possible, even if it's 1% chance, that maybe he is losing interest. Maybe he has met someone else. Maybe something about me made him change his mind. And this is where a lot of women start to go into the spin, start to go into anxiety. This is a fight between our logical brain and our primitive brain. Primitive brain wants to alert us. Well, there's a 1% chance he's losing interest. It's not a good situation. But then our logical brain and what everyone else is saying is it's probably not that. It probably is because he's going through this and that and this and that in his life. There's probably nothing to worry about. And then there's the back and forth between your primitive brain and your logical brain. To stop that back and forth spin is you want to deliberately go towards the worst case scenario. Give that worst case, that 1% worst case scenario, proper airtime that your brain is alerting you to. Step number 3 is to reach acceptance by moving through emotions. This is the most challenging step. The true source of your anxiety comes from your resistance to your worst case scenario. It comes from you being afraid that the worst case is true. It's from you not wanting to believe the worst case, not wanting to believe he is losing interest. He is dating someone else. He does think you're not good enough. That is your fear. You fear that is true and you have resistance to going there. So what your brain does then is it ping pongs between maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, and looking for evidence that it's not true, looking for evidence that it is true, and being hyper vigilant to all the little signs and looking back in your past to seek more evidence, to see which one's gonna win out. Asking your million friends, wanting him to reassure you. That is the biggest one. That's why we want his reassurance, because that gives us the biggest feeling of confidence that it's not true, because a lot of us want to believe and trust the person that we're dating. All of this chitter chatter in your brain and comes because you don't want it to be true. But that is also what causes all the anxiety, all the spinning in your mind and in your body. By allowing yourself to accept the worst case as true, giving it proper airtime in your brain, you allow yourself to move to the next emotional stage, which will feel like ass. If you really did this properly, you'll feel like devastated, angry, pissed off, sad. The alternative is feeling anxious. A lot of you are like, I don't want to feel anxious, but in order not to feel anxious, you actually have to feel worse first. For me, I've always chosen the most mentally healthy, emotionally healthy way is to go to the worst case and feel worse so I can feel better. And this is the most challenging part. You will not want to feel this bad. I recommend you sit with it. You do not resist it or try to get out of it in any way. You sit in that worst case and you feel all the emotions. You will reach acceptance on the other side. Right? Now, some of you will really resist doing this because you think you will just get stuck there, or you may want to break up with him, to call him, and abuse him, and like call him names and get super angry and do all kinds of things that you would probably regret if it wasn't true. There's a difference between the thoughts that create anger and feeling angry. And there's a difference between feeling angry and expressing anger. When you're getting stuck there, you're entertaining and perpetuating the thoughts that keep you angry. He's a jerk, he's a douchebag. Feeling angry is the sensation that you feel, yelling, screaming, abusing someone else. That is expressing anger. I do not want you to be entertaining the thoughts that create anger, nor expressing anger by yelling and screaming and outwardly abusing someone or yourself. You're just going to feel angry or feel devastated or feel sad, whatever emotion it is that is coming up for you. If you really believed the worst case is true, then it won't really matter what you do. You can get angry at him, you can get angry at yourself, you can stay angry. It still will not change the fact. Emotionally understanding that and intellectually understanding that are two different things. So I don't want you to just intellectually get it. I want you to emotionally get it. Once you emotionally give your brain and giving your emotions proper airtime And then on top of that, really knowing it doesn't matter how bad you feel or what you do, it still will not change the fact, then you're able to get to acceptance. For example, we all know giving birth is painful, and yet thousands, millions of women around the world is choosing to get pregnant. And once we choose to get pregnant, have a baby, we accept that that pain is going to come. We accept that that's part of the deal. And once we accept it, we don't have any more drama about it.
Next step is to communicate calmly to verify information. The main thing here is I want to give some of you permission to communicate your true thoughts and feelings, even if he wanted space. You're going to ask calmly if what you suspect is true. And because you have reached acceptance, now you have made room and space for other emotions to come in. And the emotion you want to have going into this conversation is openness, neutrality, and curiosity. Those are such beautiful, empowering emotions to bring into a conversation like this. Is what you could say to him. I've noticed that you've been a bit distant lately. I would just appreciate it if you told me what is going on, if you are losing interest, or if you have doubts, or if you like someone else. Is completely fine. Just tell me what is going on so I'm not left in the dark. That's it. Just be honest. Now you're also more willing to hear the truth and listen to the truth without getting angry. You've already processed those emotions. You've already made peace with the worst case scenario. So now you have space in your brain to take in that information in that moment and consider it from a different light, from a more empowering and more high value light. What if he just ghosts you and he disappears and you never hear from him again? No answer is an answer. Now what you want to do is to take care of yourself by deciding what you're going to make his exit mean about you. Here's what I make it mean. He's not my man. He did me a favor by disappearing. Him ghosting me and disappearing means nothing about me and the future of my relationships. There is much more better men and more compatible men out there for me. Chances are you're much more likely to adopt those beliefs and thinking once you've processed all of your negative emotions. How long should you give him space for? How long should you wait for him? In some cases, a man will give you a very legitimate reason for why he is pulling away or had to pull away. You may feel very compassionate about his reasons. You may have a deep understanding for why he's pulled away, and you can't even blame him for pulling away. This is something I have to address, because this is a honey trap. You still have hope for the future with you and him, but at the same time, you also don't want to be misled or have your time wasted. It also doesn't feel good waiting for someone to come back. Women put themselves in a wait state. Psychologically and energetically, they carry themselves not as if they're still single, but they carry themselves as if they are taken. But they're not taken. So even though you want to go out there and still date and act normal, you know you're not acting as you normally would, because when there's other men around, you shut yourself off, you shut down. This is a problem if you don't want that to be the case. Ask yourself this question. If his opinion of you was irrelevant, what would you then do? What would you do if you knew you couldn't lose him or get hurt? Maybe your answer would be, I would act single. I would be more open to other men. Or maybe not. Right? Only you know the answer to this question. The answer to this question reveals to me how you want to be acting and behaving, but you're stopping yourself because of fear of what he will think, losing him and the connection with him. For example, if he found out you were dating other people, he will feel a certain way, and then you will have a certain reaction to that. And depending on how severely he feels, your reaction will change too. If he just felt a little bit jealous, you may think that's a good thing because that means he cares about you. However, if his reaction is very negative, very angry, and made you feel really, really bad, then that would be a bad thing. You could lose his respect for you. So depending on his reaction, your level of pain could go up. Putting yourself in this wait state is just a way for you to avoid the worst case scenario. Whilst you are avoiding this worst case scenario, you're not showing up as yourself, you're not living your best life, you're not being the woman you want to be, you're not having a great time. And even if you may be dating, chances are you're not going to create any real genuine connections when you're in this wait state. If you ultimately want to keep your options open and not care about what he thinks, not have his emotions affect you, this is a deep knowing I want you to have about men. Men will still want you, they'll still desire you, even when you stop caring about what they think, even when you show zero interest, even when they're angry. I highly recommend you do not listen to what men say about this. Watch what they do. Okay, men will say they want a woman who's sweet and warm and nice and showing a lot of interest. But the reality is that is not always true. There is plenty of evidence to the contrary, that men will want a woman more, desire her more when she is cold, aloof, mysterious, unavailable, even rude. The bottom line is connect deeply with the knowing that if he is truly interested in you, he will not be scared off by competition. He will not worry about the competition at all. If he does lose interest, he's not your man to begin with. His interest was weak to begin with. Better to you know that now so you can move on to find a man that you do connect well with. Find a man who will want you regardless of competition. Now, if he does come back and you're wondering, well, what do I say? What do I do? Then you will want to check out this video where I break down exactly how to respond in the best, most high value way.